Have you ever stared at the ceiling in the middle of the night, your mind unraveling every problem, every conversation, every wrong turn you've ever taken, as if thinking more could untangle the knots life has tied? Let me tell you something. There is a moment, quiet, almost invisible, that passes between something happening and your reaction to it. It's in that moment that your power lies. Not in controlling the world, not in predicting the future, but in choosing how you meet it. Because life doesn't stop for our confusion. It moves with or without our permission. And sometimes, the most painful thing isn't what's happening. It's the storm we create trying to resist it. We wrestle with what we can't control, we drown in possibilities, we replay words, actions, futures that never happened, until the only thing louder than the world outside is the noise we've created within. Now imagine this. A fire burns quietly in front of you. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand that the wood changes form. It simply consumes what's given to it. It accepts, transforms, it endures. That is how we resolve the problems of life. Not by overthinking, not by grasping at things that slip through our fingers, but by becoming that quiet fire. By meeting whatever life brings and saying, "This too, I can use." It's not always easy, and it's not always fast, but that's the point. You are not here to live without pain. You are here to rise through it, not to control everything, but to be unshaken by the things that fall outside your hands. There will be mornings where everything feels wrong, where the weight of decisions presses on your chest like a stone, where someone's words cut deeper than they should, or silence echoes where you wanted comfort. Pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Because so often what we call problems aren't truly ours. They are expectations, outcomes, opinions. They are things other people think we should be, things we think we must have. And when life refuses to cooperate, we call it unfair. But fairness isn't in what happens to us. It's in how we face it. A man insults you, that's his choice. Whether you carry his words with you for days or let them fall like leaves to the ground, that's yours. You lose something you cared about. The world doesn't pause to give you closure. It hands you an empty space. What you fill it with, that's the story. You're anxious about the future. You imagine everything that could go wrong. And yet, here you are, breathing, with this moment, not the next, in your hands. What will you do with it? There is no solution in circles of worry. No clarity in endless loops of what if. The truth, the kind that heals, the kind that frees, it's always quiet. It comes when you stop trying to force answers and begin to accept what is. See, the Stoics weren't cold. They didn't run from emotion. They simply refused to be ruled by it. You can feel grief and still walk forward. You can feel fear and still take the next step. You can feel disappointment and still live with dignity. Because your problems do not define you. Your response to them does. And this life, with all its sharp edges and unpredictable turns, is not your enemy. It's your training ground. Each moment is a lesson in letting go, in grounding yourself, in remembering that peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of clarity within it. Think about this. How many times have you solved a problem not by thinking harder, but by letting go of the need to fix it right away? Some things untangle themselves when you stop pulling at the threads, when you stop making meaning out of everything, when you sit quietly and wait for the truth to rise on its own. That doesn't mean passivity. It means knowing the difference between action and reaction. You act when the time is right, when the fog clears, when the emotion settles. Until then, you hold still, like a rock in the river, letting the current pass without being dragged into it. Imagine what your life could look like if you didn't react to every trigger, if you didn't chase every anxious thought, if you allowed discomfort to sit beside you without demanding that it leave. You'd have more space, more breath, more presence. You'd begin to see that most of the pressure isn't real, that urgency is often imagined, that the only real emergency is the one we create when we believe that peace is somewhere outside of ourselves. But it's not. It's here, in the silence beneath your thoughts, in the breath you're taking now, in the calm decision to stay grounded no matter what life decides to do today. It's not that problems disappear, but they change shape when we stop feeding them with fear. They shrink when we stop clinging to control. They soften when we let go of the idea that everything needs to be figured out right now. So when life throws another obstacle your way, and it will, don't ask why it came. Ask what it's teaching you. Ask how you can grow from it. Ask if you're clinging to something that no longer serves you, be it a person, a past, or a plan. Ask whether your reaction is helping or simply adding weight to something already heavy. And then, do nothing. Not yet. Let the answer come in its own time. Trust that it will. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply learning how to be still in a world that wants you to rush. How to be strong in a world that mistakes noise for strength. And how to live with peace, even when peace feels impossible. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, step back. Watch the thoughts pass. Let them crash and scatter if they must. You are the sky, not the storm. You don't need to solve everything. You just need to remember what's yours to carry and what can be left behind. And then, with quiet courage, take the next small step. That's enough. That's everything. And in that next small step, something subtle shifts. You begin to understand that most of life's weight was never in the event itself, but in your resistance to it. Like trying to hold back the tide with your hands. You get tired. You feel helpless. But the water doesn't stop because you fight it. It stops when you let it pass. Some days you'll forget this. You'll wake up heavy, your chest full of worry before your feet even touch the ground. You'll go back into the old rhythm, analyzing, doubting, trying to fix things that haven't even happened yet. And when that happens, don't punish yourself. Just come back. Return to that quiet place inside you. That place where nothing needs to be solved immediately. That place where you remember, everything you truly need, you already have. You have the ability to choose your next thought. You have the power to decide how much attention you'll give to what went wrong. You have the strength to begin again as many times as it takes. The world will still demand things from you. Expectations won't disappear, but you will move differently. You'll begin to feel that you are not pushed by life, but moving with it. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because here's something most people never realize until much later. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is the story we tell ourselves about it. My life is ruined. This always happens to me. I should be further ahead. I can't handle this. And slowly the problem multiplies, not in reality, but in the mind, until even the smallest obstacle feels like a wall we'll never climb. But what if, just for today, you dropped the story? What if the situation was just the situation? A delay, a no, a breakup, a bill, a quiet morning with too many thoughts. What if none of it meant anything about you? What if it didn't need to define your path or predict your future? What if it was simply one moment in a long, unfolding life? Pause here. Feel how much lighter it becomes when you release the idea that you must carry everything with meaning. That every moment has to say something about your worth. That you need to earn rest, earn peace, earn calm. You don't. You can rest now. You can breathe now. Even if your life isn't perfect. Even if you haven't solved the thing that's been bothering you for weeks. Even if you're still becoming. Because becoming doesn't happen in a straight line. It's quiet. It's internal. It's born in your small, daily choices to rise when it's easier to fall. To keep your mind still when it's tempted to run. To choose peace not as an escape, but as a response. And yes, there will be days when your emotions feel louder than your wisdom. But even then, you'll remember. You'll remember that everything passes. That you've been here before. That storms come and go, and you remain. Not untouched, but unbroken. Not without scars, but stronger because of them. You'll begin to trust yourself, not because you control everything, but because you no longer need to. And the more you let go of what isn't yours, the clearer everything becomes. You'll see that people are allowed to misunderstand you. That timing doesn't have to match your plans. That love can leave, and you'll still be whole. That silence is not emptiness. It's clarity. That confusion is not failure. It's the space before insight. That everything is happening not to destroy you, but to invite you deeper into the truth of who you are. So, when the day feels too long and the wait too much, return to this. You are not here to solve life. You are here to live it, with grace, with strength, with a quiet heart that doesn't need everything to be perfect in order to feel peace. Take that in, let it sit with you, and when you're ready, just keep walking. No rush, no pressure, just the next breath, the next thought, the next moment, fully lived. That's all life ever asked of you, and it's more than enough. There's a certain power in doing nothing, at least for a moment. In that pause, you discover the space between reaction and choice. You begin to notice how often you were simply reacting, rushing to fix, to explain, to protect, to prove, as if every moment demanded an answer. But the truth is, most moments just need your presence. Not your solution, not your control, just you fully awake to what is. And when you start to live like this, something unexpected happens. Your problems stop feeling like problems. Not because they disappear, but because your relationship to them changes. You stop seeing them as interruptions to your life, and you begin to understand they are your life. They are the raw material from which your strength is forged. A missed opportunity is no longer a sign of failure. It's simply a redirection. A difficult conversation becomes a mirror, showing you where you still hold tension, where you still seek validation. And a moment of doubt is not a weakness. It's an invitation to return to yourself, to your breath, to the calm center that nothing outside of you can touch. Take a moment, breathe, feel how far you've come, not in achievements, not in external progress, but in awareness, in your capacity to sit with discomfort without needing to escape it, in your willingness to let go of the noise, the pressure, the endless search for answers. Because sometimes there is no answer, and that's okay. Sometimes the most honest thing you can say to life is, I don't know. I don't know what's next. I don't know how this will turn out, but I trust myself to face it when it comes. And that trust, that's everything. That's your freedom. Because the opposite of overthinking isn't ignorance, it's trust. It's not about knowing less. It's about needing to know less. It's about stepping into your day with the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you'll meet it with presence, with resilience, with grace. And when you forget, which you will, you forgive yourself and return. That's the rhythm of a calm life. Not perfection, not control, but return, again and again, to what matters, to what's real, to the only moment you ever truly have, this one. Let the future come when it comes. Let the past rest where it belongs. And let yourself be here now, not because everything makes sense, but because you've decided to stop needing it to. That's the secret. It's not about escaping life's problems. It's about no longer being owned by them. It's about walking through the storm and realizing that the peace you were chasing was always within you. That's not an idea. It's a practice. And every time you return to it, you become a little more free. Not because life is easier, but because you are lighter. Stay with this silence for a while. Let it wash over you. Let it remind you, you don't have to carry everything. You never did, and you never will. Just carry yourself. That's enough. And now, as this conversation draws to a close, take one final breath. Not to end anything, but to begin again. To return to your life. Not to fix it, but to live it. Fully, gently, honestly, and above all, peacefully. Because when you stop overthinking, when you stop wrestling with life, you finally give it the space to move through you. And in that space, you find your way. You always will. There's something sacred about moving slowly. In a world obsessed with speed and productivity, with fixing everything now, with knowing exactly what to do and where to go, there's quiet rebellion in pausing. In saying, I'll respond when I'm ready. Not when fear tells me to, not when the world rushes me, but when I am still and clear. This is not laziness. This is wisdom, because not every problem requires immediate action. Some problems don't even belong to you, and many of the answers you're trying so hard to find, they arrive not through effort, but through stillness. That's the paradox. The more you chase peace, the further it runs. But when you stop chasing, when you allow yourself to be exactly where you are, messy, unsure, uncertain, that's when peace enters. not as a reward but as a companion. Let it sit beside you now. Let go of the urgency to change things. Feel how much energy you've spent trying to carry everyone's expectations, even your own. And just for now, let it fall. Let it all fall. You don't have to hold the world together. You just have to hold yourself with softness, with honesty, with the kind of patience that says, it's okay not to have it all figured out, because even when life feels like it's unraveling, you are still whole. And here's the quiet truth that Stoic minds have understood for centuries. The outside world will always shift. Fortune will rise and fall. People will disappoint. Plans will dissolve. What you thought was certain will tremble. Again and again. But your peace is not anchored there. Your peace is built on something deeper, your ability to return to yourself, to your values, to what you can control, your perception, your response, your character. Everything else comes and goes. What doesn't change is your capacity to meet life, moment by moment, with courage and calm. That's your practice. You don't need to wake up tomorrow with all the answers. You don't need to become someone else to deserve ease. You don't need to predict every turn life might take. You just need to show up with a quiet mind, with a steady heart, with the willingness to trust that whatever life brings, you can face it, not because you're invincible, but because you are deeply human. And because being human means adapting. It means falling and rising. It means softening and growing stronger, both at once. There is no final version of you to become. There is only the next moment. And how you meet it, maybe with silence, maybe with a small step, maybe with nothing at all but a breath. And that is enough. It has always been enough. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to feel lost. You are allowed to not know. But in that not knowing, there is clarity too, because it creates space for something new to grow, for something wiser to speak, for something lighter to lead the way. So when your mind tries to pull you back into overthinking, when it loops and worries and demands answers, it's okay. Just return, not with resistance, but with softness. Whisper to yourself, I've done what I can. I don't need to solve this all today. I can rest, even in uncertainty. And in that moment of surrender, not defeat, but surrender, peace will find you. You'll hear it in the quiet. You'll feel it in your body. You'll know it in your breath. And you'll begin again, because every ending is really just a new beginning in disguise. So take your time. Trust the process. Live fully even when things feel unresolved. That's the beauty of life. It's not clean or perfect or predictable, but it's always offering you this, another moment, another chance to choose calm over chaos, to choose presence over panic, to choose trust over control. And in that choice, your problems lose their grip, not because they vanish, but because you stop feeding them with fear and start facing them with presence. You stop carrying them like burdens and start meeting them as teachers. And the lessons, they are always simple. You are stronger than you think. You are freer than you feel. And peace is always closer than it seems. There is one more thing you need to hear. When the day ends and all the distractions fall away, when there's no one left to impress, no voice left to argue with, no performance to uphold, what remains is this quiet presence that has walked with you through it all. It's easy to overlook, especially when you've spent years outsourcing your peace to people's approval, to plans, to what might or might not happen. But there's something sacred in the stillness of your own presence. You are not a problem to fix. You are not a project to complete. You are not a mind that must always produce or a heart that must always be understood. You are something softer, something wiser, and life is not testing you. It's not punishing you. It's simply unfolding, like a wave returning to shore, like a tree learning when to bloom and when to let go. Nothing in nature rushes through its seasons, and yet everything is on time. So are you. You are allowed to move at the pace of truth. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to not have the right words or the right plan or the perfect reaction. Because peace isn't found in perfection. It's found in permission. The permission to be human, to sit in uncertainty without panic, to hold space for discomfort without needing to fill it. to admit when you're tired, and stop reaching for invisible standards no one asked you to chase. You're not behind. You're not late. You are here. And here is always enough. When the old thoughts come back, the ones that say you're failing or that things are falling apart or that this time you won't make it, pause. Let them pass like clouds. You are not required to believe everything your mind tells you, especially not when it speaks from fear. Just because a thought is loud doesn't make it true. And just because a feeling is heavy doesn't mean it will last. Let it be. Let it all be. And return not to control, not to overthinking, but to this simple truth. I am still here, still breathing, still able to begin again. And that is more than enough. Because the most important problems in life aren't solved by thinking harder. They're softened by seeing clearer. They're dissolved by trusting deeper. They're transformed by the quiet decision to stop resisting what is and start meeting it with grace. That's what makes you unshakable. Not force, not certainty, not answers, but grace. And grace begins when you stop asking life to be easy and start choosing to be peaceful, no matter what it brings. That choice is always yours, even now, especially now. So let this be the end of your striving. Let this be the place where you lay down the armor, where you stop proving and begin listening, where you stop bracing for impact and start softening into trust. Life will unfold as it must. You will rise as you are meant to, and the path will clear not because you forced it to, but because you learned to walk with faith, not fear. There is no finish line. There is only this next step. Take it gently, and know you are not lost. You are arriving. And even as this reflection nears its close, there's no need to rush away from it. Stay. Let these final thoughts settle into the corners of your mind, the ones usually filled with noise and tension. Let them clear a little space, not so you can fill it again with more problems to solve, but so you can feel what it's like to live without the weight you've grown used to carrying. Sometimes we carry things for so long we forget we're allowed to put them down. You don't need permission. You don't need a reason. You just need to remember that peace is not something you chase. It's something you allow. It doesn't require everything to be in place. It doesn't demand resolution or perfect endings. It simply asks that you meet this moment with honesty and the quiet willingness to stop fighting reality. There's no need to resist what already is. No need to rewrite the past. No need to bargain with the future. There is only this breath, this stillness, this freedom found in simply letting things be. Problems will come again. That's the nature of life. But you don't need to fear them. You don't need to build walls or run from the unknown. You've been through storms before, and you're still here, wiser now, quieter inside, more aware of what truly matters and what never really did. So let your mind rest now. Let your thoughts be soft, like the sound of wind brushing through trees. Let your heart know deeply that you are allowed to live without constant fixing. That life as it is, even in its mess, even in its questions, is enough. You are enough. The path ahead doesn't need to be mapped in detail. You don't need to know the destination. Just return over and over to the calm center within you. Return to your values, to your breath, to the way the sky continues being the sky, no matter what happens on the ground. You can be like that, grounded, vast, and open. Let others chase. Let the world rush. You will walk in peace. You will move with intention. You will choose not to let problems define your life, but to let presence shape your experience. And that, more than anything, is what makes life whole. Not answers, not achievement, but the grace with which you meet what comes. The courage to let go of what never belonged. The patience to sit with what is, and the quiet strength to say, I am here, I am ready, and I will face whatever comes. Not with fear, but with calm. So now, as you carry the stillness back into your day, remember this: you don't have to fix everything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to carry everything. All you need is to meet each moment as it arrives, with a clear mind, with a steady soul, with the kind of peace that comes from no longer trying to escape life, but finally learning how to live it as it is, one quiet breath at a time. And now that you've listened, not just with your ears, but with the deeper part of you, the part that knows even when the mind forgets. There's something I want to leave you with. You have time. Not the kind of time measured by clocks and deadlines, but the kind of time that lives in presence, in awareness, in the space between doing and being. And in that time, there's room for you to feel what you feel, to move slowly, to not have the next answer, to pause before reacting, to rest, not out of exhaustion, but out of reverence for yourself, for this life, for the quiet miracle of still existing through everything that's happened. It's not a weakness to be still. It's not a flaw to stop fixing. It's not a failure to feel lost sometimes. That's what it means to be alive, to stumble forward, to feel deeply, to lose your way and then find it again, not in the maps or the plans or the opinions of others, but in the compass that's always been inside of you, the one that points not north but inward. And yes, problems will come, uncertainty will rise, life will feel heavy again, but now you know something different. Now, you carry the understanding that most problems are just stories we haven't learned to stop telling ourselves. Now, the weight is lighter when you stop adding fear to it. Now, you can choose presence instead of panic, clarity instead of control, trust instead of tension. You won't get it perfect. You're not meant to, but every time you remember and return and breathe, you are practicing peace, not as a goal, but as a way of being. And that changes everything, even the hard moments, even the quiet, unseen days, even the simple decision to let go of what doesn't serve you and keep walking with only what truly matters. That's not just Stoicism. That's not just philosophy. That's living. And you are doing it, right here, right now, without needing to solve anything at all. You're still here, still breathing, still capable of returning to that quiet place where you don't need to be anything other than what you are. And maybe that's the whole message. Not that you need to fix your life like a broken machine, but that you can finally stop running from it. That you can sit with it like an old friend, one you've misunderstood for years, one that speaks in discomfort, yes, but also in wisdom, because even your struggles are trying to show you something, not to hurt you, but to bring you back to the moment, back to humility, back to the soft, patient awareness that knows all things change, that what aches now will pass, that what confuses you will one day make sense or stop needing to, that you can walk through life without letting every twist and turn hijack your peace. And that's the difference between suffering and serenity. Not the circumstances, but the stance you take inside of them. You can meet life with clenched fists or with open hands, with resistance or with presence, with overthinking or with stillness. The world may still shout, the problems may still come, but you can remain unshaken, not because you've escaped reality, but because you've finally learned how to stand inside of it, with dignity, with gentleness, with the calm understanding that problems don't define your life, your response does. And when your response is rooted in awareness, not fear, in values, not impulses, in clarity, not chaos, that's when life opens up in a new way, not easier, not simpler, but clearer. And there's a strange kind of power in that. The power of not needing to prove anything. The power of not being pulled by every emotion, or shaken by every headline, or controlled by every thought. Just a quiet strength, a soft-spoken kind of freedom, and you don't need to find it somewhere out there. It's already in you. It always was. So if there's anything to carry with you from this space, let it be this. You can live without overthinking. You can let problems be what they are without making them who you are. You can return to peace again and again until it becomes not a place you visit, but a place you live from. And when you forget, as all of us do, just pause, breathe. Remember that stillness is always here, and choose it. Choose it not because the world is calm, but because you are learning how to be. That is your real freedom, and it will never be taken from you. Not by problems, not by fear, not by anything that happens next, because it's not out there. It's already yours. Here, now, always. Even now, with all of this, you might feel a familiar tug, that pull to go back to solving, to start analyzing again, to let your mind re-engage its old rhythm. the one where it spins and spins, trying to untangle life like a knot that only tightens with every pull. But maybe, just maybe, you don't need to pick up that thread again. Maybe the knot doesn't need to be undone. Maybe it needs to be left alone, softened with time, breath, and patience. Because the truth is, some things only loosen when we stop forcing them. Some problems begin to dissolve the moment we stop calling them problems. You can walk beside uncertainty. You can live with the question mark. You can still live well, even when life isn't neat or finished or fully understood. And when you stop expecting the road to be clear at every turn, you begin to travel differently. You stop rushing. You stop fearing the curves. You stop cursing the fog. Instead, you pay attention. You become present. You listen more. You say less. And in that quiet, you see what was always there. What stress and hurry had hidden from you. That peace isn't a destination. It's a practice, a choice, a return. Again and again, you return to what matters, to what you can control, to what is within your reach. And that's where real power lives. Not in fixing life, but in facing it with grace, with resilience, with calm. You've probably lived much of your life thinking you had to react to everything, that every problem required your energy, that every discomfort demanded a solution. But now you know something deeper. You know that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every thought is true. Not every fear is real. Not every emotion requires an answer. Some things just need to pass, like clouds through the sky, like wind through the trees. And the less you interfere, the faster they move on. You are not your worries. You are not your chaos. You are not your fears about tomorrow or your regrets about yesterday. You are the space in which they come and go. The sky, not the storm. The awareness, not the noise. And when you remember that, even for a moment, you are free. Even in the middle of the same life. Even surrounded by the same situations. Because freedom isn't about what's happening outside of you. It's about how you meet it, how you hold yourself, how you breathe, how you remember over and over that life doesn't need to be perfect for you to be at peace. It only needs to be accepted, not passively, but wisely, with open eyes, with an open heart, and a mind that knows when to act and when to let go, when to speak and when to be silent, when to carry, and when to finally set something down. And you know that now. You've felt it, even just for a moment, that lightness, that stillness, that deep, enduring quiet underneath all the movement. It's not fragile. It's not temporary. It's your nature, always accessible, always waiting. So even when life becomes loud again, as it will, even when the world starts pulling on you from every side, even when your thoughts race and problems feel like they're returning, you don't have to go with them. You can stay grounded. You can pause. You can breathe and choose to come home to this stillness again. Not once, not twice, but as often as you need. Because this is what makes the difference. This is how you resolve the real problems, not by force, but by choosing not to carry what was never yours to hold. Not by escaping what hurts, but by turning toward it with presence. And not by fixing the world, but by finding peace within it. You've made it this far, and maybe that's the real accomplishment no one ever celebrates. Not solving everything, not achieving clarity, but staying present, not running from discomfort, not pushing the moment away, just staying right here with whatever's unfolding. There's a quiet strength in that, because you could have distracted yourself again, drowned yourself in noise, chased another answer, another opinion, another promise of relief just around the corner. But you didn't. You paused. You listened. And sometimes that's the bravest thing a person can do. To listen deeply, not to the chaos out there, but to the stillness inside. That inner place where Stoic wisdom doesn't live in books or quotes, but in breath. In the moment you choose not to panic. In the moment you release the grip you didn't even realize you were holding. In the moment you finally say, "This is enough." Not because life is easy now, not because the problem vanished, but because you remembered that you are bigger than it, that you don't need to overthink pain to learn from it, that you don't need to replay the past to honor it, that you don't need to predict the future to prepare for it. You just need to be now, fully here, fully alive, fully grounded in the only thing that ever belonged to you in the first place, your response. That's all you ever needed to master. Not life, not people, not outcomes, just the response. The space between what happens and what you do next. And that space is sacred. It's the birthplace of every peaceful life. And it's always there, in the pause before the reaction, in the breath before the word, in the moment before the spiral. That's where freedom lives. And it doesn't shout. It whispers. It waits for you to be quiet enough to hear it. And now you can. So don't rush out of this. Don't look for something to fix next. Let the silence do its work. Let the calm settle deeper. Let your mind be like a lake again, still reflective and clear. You've been given something now, not a solution, not an answer, but something more useful. A way to move through life not faster, but lighter, not with more control, but with more peace. A way that doesn't need to name every emotion or categorize every setback. A way that simply lives softly, wisely, and fully in this moment. Right here, right now, where nothing needs to be added, where nothing needs to be solved, where nothing is missing, just you, fully aware, fully enough. And when you leave this space, and you will carry that stillness with you, not like a shield to block out life, but like a compass to guide you through it. Because no matter what happens next, you'll know how to meet it, with clarity, with patience, and with a heart that remembers. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you choose, again and again, one breath at a time, always. And here's a gentle reminder to hold close. Life will never be without its storms. You will face moments where the mind races, where worries claw at the edges of your peace, where the weight of it all threatens to pull you under. But remember, storms, by their nature, are temporary. They roar, they rage, they pass. And beneath their thunder, there is always a calm waiting. A calm you can return to no matter how many storms come and go. It is not something to earn. It is not something to lose. It simply is. And when you remember this truth, you are no longer a passenger to the chaos. You become the quiet center, the steady heart, the watching presence. From here, life's problems shrink. Not because they are less real, but because you are more spacious, more patient, more at home within yourself. And this presence transforms everything. It changes the way you carry pain. It changes the way you respond to difficulty. It changes the way you view the world. No longer a place of threats, but a field of experience. Not a battleground, but a dance, where you move with life's rhythms instead of resisting them. This doesn't mean surrendering to everything. It means choosing wisely when to engage, when to hold on and when to let go, when to act and when to simply be. In this way, problems become teachers, obstacles become opportunities, and even in the darkest moments, a seed of peace can be found. You do not need to overthink. You do not need to control. You only need to be, to trust in the flow, to accept the impermanence, to know that all things, pleasure and pain, loss and gain, certainty and doubt, are passing guests in the vastness of your awareness. And that awareness, it is your true home, a home no one can take from you, no one can break, no one can shake, because it is built not on circumstance, but on your quiet, enduring choice to come back again and again to peace. In the quiet that follows all this thinking and feeling, there's something simple waiting to be known, that life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be lived. Not a puzzle with all its pieces missing, but a mystery to be embraced. And embracing it doesn't mean resigning yourself to hardship. It means meeting each moment, whatever it brings, with an open heart and steady hands. It means no longer spinning inside your head, no longer wrestling with what cannot be changed. It means resting in the one place where true strength grows. Acceptance. Acceptance not as surrender, but as freedom, because when you accept what is, you free yourself from what might have been. You free yourself from endless what-ifs and if-onlys. You free yourself to respond, not react. To choose, not be chosen. To live, not merely exist. This freedom is the core of what we've been exploring. It's the quiet power beneath all Stoic wisdom. It's the voice of your own soul telling you, you are bigger than your problems, wiser than your fears, and more present than your worries. And so, in the days to come, when you feel the old tug of overthinking, when your mind tries to pull you back into the endless spiral, remember this moment, remember this voice, remember this stillness, return to it as often as you need, and let it remind you, there is no problem so big it can take away your peace, no worry so urgent it can steal your breath, no thought so loud it can drown your calm. You are the calm beneath the storm. You are the light behind the clouds. You are the presence that holds everything gently, without breaking. And that is enough, always enough, now and forever. And as you step back into the world, carrying this quiet with you, remember this too. Life's troubles will come and go, but the space within you, the space where you breathe, where you feel, where you choose is always yours. Unshakable, unchanging, waiting patiently for you to return. No matter what happens outside, no matter how loud the noise, no matter how fierce the storm, you have this space, you have this breath, you have this moment, and with that you have everything. So walk gently now, walk fully now, walk with the steady heart of one who knows. There is no problem too great, no overthinking too deep, only the simple truth of presence, and the quiet, powerful choice to be at peace, right now, right here, always. You see, this isn't about perfect control or flawless understanding. It's about showing up for yourself, again and again with kindness and patience, about allowing life to teach you without forcing it to obey your plans, about knowing that sometimes the most courageous act is simply to breathe deeply, to soften your gaze inward, and to say, I will meet this moment as it is. Because when you do, everything shifts. Problems lose their grip, worries quiet down, and what remains is something real and true, a presence that holds all things, not with judgment or fear, but with calm strength and clear eyes. This presence is your anchor, your refuge, your home, and no matter what storms rage beyond your door, you carry that home within. So when the mind wants to race, when the heart wants to panic, return here. Return to the space where peace lives, not as a goal far away, but as a quiet choice you make right now, over and over. No rush, no pressure, just this. And this is enough, more than enough. It is everything. You might find yourself wondering, at times, what it truly means to live a life guided by wisdom, especially when everything around you feels so uncertain, so chaotic. But what if living wisely isn't about having all the answers or controlling every detail? What if it's simply about how you choose to face what comes your way, moment by moment? Imagine waking up tomorrow and instead of immediately feeling the pull of anxiety or the heaviness of unresolved problems, you greet the day with a gentle acceptance. Not resignation, but a kind, quiet readiness. A readiness to face whatever happens with the steady heart of someone who knows their true strength lies not in external circumstances, but inside. There's a subtle power in realizing that the storm outside is just noise. The real calm isn't the absence of difficulty, but the presence of a centered mind that refuses to be swept away by every passing gust. This power doesn't require grand gestures or heroic feats. It asks only for your attention, your willingness to pause, and your commitment to live authentically. Now, when you encounter difficulty, whether it's a personal loss, a disappointment at work, or an unexpected change, you can remind yourself, this moment is transient. The discomfort will pass. It's natural to feel pain, but it need not consume you. The mind's habit is often to magnify and to spin stories around events, pulling us into a web of what-ifs and endless worries. But this too can be loosened. Start by simply noticing the stories your mind tells. Notice how it tries to push you into the future, imagining worst-case scenarios, or pulls you backward, replaying old wounds. See these patterns as passing clouds, not permanent fixtures. When you observe them without judgment, you begin to reclaim your space, your freedom. Freedom from compulsive thinking is freedom from suffering. It opens a door to a different way of living, one where you're not captive to the chaos, but a calm presence amidst it. This presence grows with practice. Like a muscle, it strengthens each time you return to it. Each time you resist the urge to be swept into the storm and instead choose to stand steady, you build resilience. You cultivate a peace that no external event can take away. What does that look like in daily life? It might mean when faced with a difficult conversation, you listen more deeply rather than react impulsively. When overwhelmed by a daunting task, you break it down into small, manageable steps instead of letting the whole mountain intimidate you. When struck by fear of failure, you acknowledge it kindly and then refocus on what you can control, your effort, your attitude, your willingness to try. You learn to lean into discomfort without being overwhelmed by it. You understand that suffering is part of life, but suffering unnecessarily, through resisting what is, can be reduced. There is a phrase that captures this beautifully. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain comes from outside events, loss, illness, setbacks. Suffering comes from how you choose to engage with that pain. This is the turning point. Choosing not to suffer more than necessary isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about facing reality with clear eyes and a steady heart. You might wonder, how can I maintain this attitude when everything feels out of control? The answer is deceptively simple. Focus on your own mind. The one thing that is always within your power is how you think and respond. This is the core of what some call the inner citadel. Imagine a fortress inside you, where no matter what chaos brews outside, there is a calm, unshakable center. This citadel is built by your daily practice of awareness, acceptance, and purposeful action. It does not mean you won't feel fear or sadness. It means you won't be ruled by them. When you encounter negative thoughts, I'm not enough, this will never get better, I'm a failure, try to step back. Watch these thoughts as if they were clouds passing through a vast sky. They come and go. They do not define you. Practice naming them gently. Here is fear. Here is doubt. Give them space without feeding them. This small distance between you and your thoughts is freedom. In time, you might notice a new rhythm emerging. A rhythm where your mind is less reactive, more thoughtful. Where your emotions flow through you without flooding you. Where you can acknowledge challenges without being defeated by them. This doesn't mean you stop caring or stop striving. On the contrary, you become more capable, more present, more connected to your true values. Because at the heart of Stoic practice is the idea that your life is not measured by external success or failure, but by how faithfully you live according to your principles. Kindness, integrity, courage, wisdom. These are the anchors that keep you steady, no matter what. You may also find that as you cultivate this inner strength, your relationship with time changes. You begin to appreciate the present moment as the only one truly available to you. The past is a memory, the future a mystery. The now is where life happens. When you realize this, worry about what might come loses its grip. Anxiety about tomorrow fades because you understand that the future is not yet here. It will arrive in its own time, and when it does, you will meet it with the same steady heart. Practicing this perspective daily means returning often to the present. Bringing your attention back to your breath, to your sensations, to the simple act of being alive. This grounding is a form of freedom. It frees you from being lost in thought, from being overwhelmed by emotions, from being disconnected from yourself. And in this freedom, you find joy. Not the fleeting joy that depends on circumstances, but a deep, abiding contentment that flows from living in harmony with what is. Imagine this contentment as a quiet flame inside you. It does not blaze wildly, but it does not go out. It warms and lights your path, even in the darkest nights. It is this inner flame that Stoicism invites you to nurture. No matter what life throws your way, no matter how tangled or complicated things get, you can always come back to this flame. You can always choose to be the calm in the storm, to be the steady rock in shifting sands, to be the quiet strength that carries you forward. This journey isn't about perfection or never feeling lost. It's about showing up for yourself again and again, about learning to trust your capacity to handle whatever arises. It's about understanding that peace isn't something you find outside of yourself, but something you create within. And that truly is a kind of victory. So take your time, be gentle, keep returning to this place of calm. Know that you are enough just as you are, that your strength is real, even if it sometimes feels hidden, that your mind is powerful even when it wanders, and that your life, with all its ups and downs, is yours to live fully, right here, right now. There's something profoundly liberating in the realization that most of life's suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from how we respond. It's not the events themselves that disturb us, but the narratives we construct around them. Think about a moment recently when you felt upset or frustrated. Was it truly the situation that caused the pain, or was it your interpretation, your mind's story about what it meant? This distinction might feel subtle, but it is the gateway to transformation. Because while you cannot always control what happens outside, you can always control how you engage with it inside. This internal mastery is the root of a peaceful life. Now, consider the temptation to cling to certainty. We all crave stability and predictability. We want to feel safe, to know the outcome. But life is inherently uncertain. The weather shifts, relationships evolve, health changes, and the world around us moves constantly. Trying to hold on too tightly to what feels stable can actually increase suffering. Instead, imagine learning to move with the flow, like a tree bending with the wind. It's not about giving up or becoming passive. It's about cultivating flexibility in your mind and heart. Flexibility that allows you to face the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. When you embrace uncertainty, you open space for possibility. You stop wasting energy resisting what cannot be controlled. And you begin to find freedom in simply being present with what is. This isn't easy. It's a lifelong practice, but it's also a path to profound peace. Think about how this applies in everyday life. When a plan falls apart or a relationship shifts, instead of spiraling into panic or anger, you might pause and say, "This is unexpected. How can I respond wisely here?" This question opens you up to creative solutions, to growth. You also learn to separate what belongs to you from what belongs to others. Much distress comes from trying to control others' actions or opinions. But in reality, each person has their own mind, their own will. The only true power you have is over yourself, your thoughts, your choices, your attitudes. This insight frees you from countless unnecessary struggles. You don't need to carry the weight of others' judgments or behaviors. You can instead focus on being the best version of yourself with kindness, integrity, and patience. Patience is an underestimated virtue in modern life. We want everything quickly, answers, results, peace. But patience teaches us to respect the natural timing of things. Some changes take time. Some wounds take time to heal. Some understanding emerges slowly. By cultivating patience, you honor the rhythm of life. You give yourself permission to grow gradually, to learn step by step. This patience also applies to your own imperfections. It's easy to be harsh with yourself when you stumble or fail. But imagine treating yourself as you would a dear friend, with compassion and encouragement. This gentleness doesn't excuse mistakes, but it creates space to learn and improve without crushing self-judgment. When you extend patience and kindness inward, you become more resilient. You're able to face setbacks with calm and clarity, rather than despair. Another profound truth is the value of focusing on what truly matters. In a world full of distractions and noise, it's easy to lose sight of what's essential. What if you began each day by asking yourself, what is the one thing I can do today that aligns with my deepest values? This question helps cut through the clutter. By prioritizing meaning over urgency, you live with intention. You spend your energy on what nourishes your soul rather than what simply demands attention. This shift from busyness to purpose transforms your experience. You feel more connected, more alive, more fulfilled. It also helps when challenges arise. When difficulties come, you can ask, how does this test or teach me? What can I learn here? Instead of seeing hardship as a punishment, you see it as a teacher. This perspective shifts your energy from resistance to engagement. There is power in reframing. Instead of saying, why me? Try thinking, what is this moment trying to show me? This subtle change invites growth and wisdom. Remember, growth often happens in discomfort. Like muscles strengthening through resistance, your character develops when you face difficulties with courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Each small act of courage builds your confidence and inner strength. You might not always feel brave, but bravery is a choice. The choice to keep going, to keep showing up, even when it's hard. And with each act of bravery, your capacity for peace expands. You begin to notice that external events matter less than your inner state. You become less reactive, more steady. This steadiness radiates outward. It influences how others experience you and your surroundings. You become a source of calm and inspiration. Another subtle but transformative practice is gratitude. When life feels heavy, gratitude is the light that reveals what remains good and true. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending all is perfect. It means acknowledging the gifts amid the struggle. The warmth of a friend's smile, the simple pleasure of a breath, the beauty of a quiet moment. By focusing on these small blessings, you cultivate a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. You notice more reasons to feel connected and alive. This daily practice rewires your brain to look for the positive, which in turn nourishes your peace. It's also helpful to cultivate a sense of humility. Humility grounds you by reminding you that you do not have all the answers, and that life is bigger than any one person. Humility opens you to learning, to listening, to growth. It softens rigid opinions and allows compassion to flourish. When you combine humility with acceptance, patience, courage, and gratitude, you create a powerful foundation for resilience. And resilience is the heart of navigating life's challenges gracefully. No matter how hard life hits, you bounce back with greater wisdom and grace. You find a rhythm where difficulty doesn't define you. It shapes you, yes, but does not imprison you. Finally, remember that connection matters. Though Stoicism often emphasizes self-mastery, it does not ask you to isolate or harden your heart. True strength is shown in your ability to relate with others with empathy and kindness. Supporting others and accepting support is a vital part of resilience. We are social beings, and sharing our struggles lightens the load. It also reminds us that we are not alone. Each person is on their own journey, facing their own battles. When you remember this, it's easier to forgive, to be patient, and to love. So, as you walk your path, cultivate your inner citadel with quiet vigilance. Return to presence when your mind wanders. Accept what cannot be changed, and act with courage on what can. Choose patience when progress is slow. Practice gratitude for small blessings. Embrace humility to keep your heart open. And reach out, offering and receiving kindness. Life is unpredictable. It will test you. It will challenge you. But within you lies a deep reservoir of strength. You don't need to solve everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to keep coming back. Back to yourself. Back to this moment. Back to peace. There's a quiet strength that lives in recognizing the moment you are in. Not the moment you wished for, not the moment you fear, but the one unfolding right now. This moment is your only true possession. No matter how much we dream or dread the future, or how much we regret the past, the present is where life actually happens. It's easy to forget this, lost as we are in thoughts about what was or what might be. But when you can truly inhabit the present, your mind stops racing. The burdens of worry and regret begin to lose their hold, because the present is simple. It offers what is without judgment or resistance. Try to feel the difference between living inside a storm of thoughts and resting calmly in this simple now. In this stillness, you regain access to your clarity and wisdom. You realize that no matter how tangled a problem seems, it begins to unravel when met with calm attention. This calm is not about suppressing emotions or pretending life is easy. It's about creating a space inside yourself where emotions can be felt, understood, and released without overwhelming you. Imagine your emotions as waves in the ocean. They rise and fall. Some are small ripples, others crashing swells. Your task is not to stop the waves, but to learn how to float and navigate them with grace. Floating doesn't mean being passive. It means being steady amidst movement, anchored by your inner calm. When life throws difficult situations your way, a harsh word, an unexpected setback, a loss, your first instinct might be to resist or react impulsively. But what if, before reacting, you took a breath and simply observed what was happening inside? You might notice the initial surge of anger or fear. You might notice a tightening in your chest or a rush of thoughts. Instead of immediately pushing these sensations away or letting them control you, you acknowledge them. You say quietly, "I see you. You're here, but you will pass." This moment of recognition can transform your response. You begin to respond rather than react. You reclaim your power. It's a practice worth returning to daily, no matter how experienced you become. Because life will keep presenting challenges, and your ability to remain steady will deepen with time. There's also a profound liberation in accepting your limits. You are not omnipotent. You cannot fix every problem, control every outcome, or anticipate every twist. When you accept this, you stop exhausting yourself in battles you cannot win. You focus your energy where it truly matters, on your own actions, your own attitudes, your own integrity. And when you do this, you align yourself with the flow of reality, rather than fighting against it. Consider how much peace can come from surrendering to what you cannot change, while actively engaging with what you can. This balance, acceptance and action, is at the heart of living wisely. Another subtle but powerful lesson is to view obstacles not as interruptions, but as invitations. Every difficulty is an opportunity to practice patience, courage, humility, or kindness. When faced with a problem at work, a conflict with a loved one, or a personal setback, ask yourself, what skill or strength can I cultivate here? This perspective turns frustration into growth. It transforms challenges into stepping stones. Over time, you build a mental habit of seeing difficulties as teachers, and this habit shifts your entire relationship with life. Instead of dreading problems, you begin to see them as part of your development. This doesn't mean pain disappears, but it changes its meaning. It becomes meaningful. It becomes fuel for becoming more resilient and wise. In the same vein, practicing mindfulness in everyday activities grounds you deeply. Whether washing dishes, walking, or eating, try to be fully present. Notice the sensations, the sounds, the rhythm. When you immerse yourself in simple moments, you train your mind to return from distraction. You find joy in the ordinary. You reduce mental noise, and your clarity of thought sharpens. This clarity helps you see problems more clearly, without distortions caused by anxiety or impulse. You notice patterns in your thinking that create unnecessary suffering. You see when you are catastrophizing or personalizing events that are outside your control. This awareness is the first step to change. You learn to question the stories your mind tells. You ask, is this true? Is this helpful? By gently challenging your own narratives, you open the door to calmer, wiser responses. Another quiet truth is the power of boundaries. To resolve life's problems, you sometimes need to say no. No to demands that drain you. No to expectations that don't serve you. No to relationships that undermine your peace. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. It protects your energy so you can respond to life's challenges with greater strength. It's also a form of clarity. When you know what you will and won't accept, you navigate life with less confusion. Boundaries are not walls but gates. Selective, intentional, and clear, they allow you to conserve your resources and focus on what truly matters. As you cultivate these practices, presence, acceptance, reflection, gratitude, humility, boundaries, you create an inner sanctuary. This sanctuary is a place you can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. It's a refuge where you rest, gather strength, and prepare to face the world again. Life will never be free from problems, but your relationship with them transforms. You move from feeling overwhelmed to feeling capable, from being tossed by storms to standing firm within them. This inner transformation doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds quietly, moment by moment. Like water wearing away stone, gentle persistence reshapes your mind and heart. Remember, you are not alone on this path. All who seek peace and wisdom walk it alongside you. Though your journeys differ, the challenges and triumphs echo in common human experience. Drawing strength from this shared journey brings comfort, and the more you embody calm and wisdom, the more you become a beacon for others. Your peace becomes a ripple, touching those around you. Even small shifts in your attitude can create profound changes in your world. So, when life feels too heavy, when problems pile up, pause. Return to your breath. Return to your center. Remember, you don't need to solve everything right now. You only need to keep coming back to presence, to keep acting with integrity, to keep embracing what is. And with this, you gradually find life's problems lose their power to overwhelm you. They become moments for practice, moments for growth, moments where you discover your own strength. This is the heart of wise living, the heart of peace. Sometimes, when life becomes difficult, there's a temptation to search outward for answers, to look for quick fixes, distractions, or easy escapes. But the real answers live inside. It's a quiet place that can only be accessed when the noise outside and inside begins to soften. This inner place isn't something you build or find by chasing. It's more like a well that's always been there, waiting to be noticed. The more you visit, the clearer and more accessible it becomes. You might wonder how to find this place. The simplest way is to slow down. In our world, rushing has become the default state. We rush to work, rush to respond, rush to decide. But when you slow down, even just for a few breaths, something shifts. Your perspective widens. You realize there's more space between stimulus and response than you thought. That space is where freedom lies. Freedom from automatic reactions, from being swept away by every wave of emotion or thought. Freedom to choose your response with care. This freedom is the foundation for resolving life's problems. Because once you step out of reactive mode, problems don't seem as intimidating. They become puzzles to be explored rather than threats to be feared. And puzzles can be solved. They can be broken down into parts, understood, and addressed one step at a time. A big challenge can feel overwhelming when viewed as a whole. But viewed piece by piece with calm attention, it becomes manageable. This approach is not about avoidance or denial. It's about deliberate engagement, clear, patient, and wise. Think about a time you faced a problem that seemed impossible at first. Maybe you felt stuck, powerless, or confused. But then, something small changed. You took a breath, stepped back, and looked at it differently. Maybe you asked for help. Maybe you broke it down into smaller steps. Maybe you simply allowed yourself to rest and come back with fresh eyes. That shift, that pause, is where resolution begins. This pause allows the wisdom within you to emerge. You begin to see what really matters and what doesn't. You start to recognize your own strengths and resources, and you gain the confidence to move forward, even when the way isn't perfectly clear. Another aspect worth reflecting on is the nature of control. There's a subtle peace in knowing exactly what is within your power and what isn't. Most of our suffering comes from trying to control things beyond our reach. Other people's actions, the past, the future. When you realize that control is limited to your own thoughts, feelings, and actions, the pressure eases. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You only have to focus on your part. This focus brings clarity. You ask, what can I do right now? What attitude can I choose? What small step can I take? Even when circumstances are difficult, this question returns your power. It helps you to stop spinning in anxiety or despair. Instead, you channel your energy into what is effective. There's also a gentle wisdom in recognizing the impermanence of things. Problems, emotions, and situations are not fixed. They change and evolve. No storm lasts forever. No night remains endless. This natural rhythm offers hope. It reminds you that even the toughest times will pass. When you anchor yourself in this truth, you don't feel as desperate or defeated. You become a steady presence in your own life. This steadiness is not passive acceptance, but active endurance. It's choosing to meet life as it comes, with openness and resilience. And resilience is a skill anyone can cultivate. It's not about never breaking, but about learning to bend without snapping. About coming back again, and again. This resilience grows each time you practice patience and kindness toward yourself. It grows each time you choose understanding over judgment. It grows each time you take responsibility for your own mind and heart. You might also find it helpful to remember that perfection is not the goal. Life's problems are not tests to be passed flawlessly. They are opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become more fully human. Mistakes will happen. Sometimes you'll respond poorly. Sometimes you'll feel lost. This is part of the journey. What matters is not never failing, but how you return from failure, how you forgive yourself, how you recommit to presence and clarity, how you keep practicing, because the path of wisdom is a lifelong one. It's a process, not a destination. It invites patience with yourself and with life's unfolding. Along the way, it's important to cultivate compassion for yourself and others. Compassion softens the hardness of judgment and blame. It reminds you that everyone struggles. Everyone has moments of confusion or weakness. Recognizing this common humanity connects you to others and yourself in a healing way. When you meet problems with compassion instead of harshness, you open doors. Doors to understanding, connection, and peace. And this peace supports you in facing whatever comes. Another dimension to explore is the importance of meaning. Problems can feel unbearable when life feels meaningless. But when you find purpose, even a small one, it changes everything. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or heroic. It can be as simple as the intention to live with integrity, kindness, or courage. This intention becomes your anchor. It guides your actions and colors your experiences. It gives you a reason to keep moving forward, even in difficult times. So when you face a problem, ask, what is important here? What does this moment call me to be? By answering this, you bring meaning into the challenge. And meaning transforms the way you experience difficulty, from a threat to an invitation, from a burden to a calling. And finally, as you navigate life's problems, remember the power of gratitude. Gratitude is not about denying hardship. It's about recognizing the good that persists alongside difficulty. It's about seeing the flickers of light, however small, in the darkness. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's present. It grounds you in reality, not fantasy, and it fosters resilience. When you cultivate gratitude, you open your heart. You invite peace. You build a foundation of strength beneath the challenges. Even on the hardest days, a simple moment of gratitude can be a lifeline, a moment to breathe, to appreciate, to feel connected. So as you go forward, carry these reflections with you. Remember to slow down and find your inner well. Pause before reacting. Focus on what you can control. Embrace impermanence. Practice resilience and compassion. Seek meaning and cultivate gratitude. With these companions, life's problems become less like enemies and more like guides. Guides pointing the way to deeper wisdom, strength, and peace. You don't have to have all the answers. You only need to keep walking forward with openness and care. And in that walking, you find the quiet power to meet life fully, just as it is. There's something deeply comforting in realizing that your mind is not a chaotic storm, but a garden. And just like any garden, it needs tending. It needs patience, attention, and gentle care. Often, when problems press in, it's tempting to grab at every worry, every what if, as if by holding them tightly we might somehow control them. But this is like clutching at dry leaves in a windstorm. The tighter you hold, the more they scatter and tear. Instead, consider a different approach. Loosen your grip. Allow thoughts to pass like clouds across the sky. Notice them without chasing or fighting. In that spacious awareness, you reclaim calm. You begin to see that not every thought deserves your energy. You recognize which worries are useful and which only distract. This discernment is a powerful skill. It quiets the mind's chatter and opens room for clarity. When clarity arises, you find yourself better equipped to face life's challenges. You see the problem more fully with its true shape and texture. And this fuller view naturally leads to wiser choices. There's also a quiet strength in embracing uncertainty. Life rarely hands us neat, certain answers. Often, we step into the unknown, unsure of what comes next. can feel uncomfortable, even frightening. But what if uncertainty isn't something to fear? What if it's the soil from which courage grows? When you accept uncertainty as part of life's fabric, you stop resisting reality. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You open to possibility. You invite creativity. In that openness, solutions begin to appear, sometimes in unexpected ways. You might not have control over outcomes, but you do have control over your attitude toward them. Choosing curiosity over fear, openness over resistance, patience over frustration. These are quiet acts of courage. And courage, as you know, is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. This willingness builds resilience step by step. Another dimension of resolving life's problems is the practice of self-honesty. Facing yourself clearly, without masks or illusions, is challenging. It requires courage to look at your own role in a situation, your mistakes, your blind spots. But this honesty is liberating. It frees you from the traps of blame and denial. It opens the door to growth and change. When you are honest with yourself, you see the truth as it is, not as you wish it to be, not as the story your mind tries to tell to protect you, just truth. And truth, held gently, is a healing balm. It shows where change is possible and where acceptance is needed. It reveals the limits of your control and the expanses of your power. And with this knowledge, you can act wisely and kindly toward yourself and others. In the same way, there is a deep peace to be found in forgiving. Forgiving others, forgiving yourself, is not about forgetting or excusing harm. It's about releasing the burden of anger, resentment, and bitterness. Holding onto these emotions keeps you tied to suffering. Forgiveness unties those knots. It frees your heart to move forward. It lightens your step. It restores your capacity for compassion and joy. Remember, forgiveness is a process, often slow and winding. It may need to be revisited many times, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep choosing release over clinging. Another point worth reflecting on is the value of small actions. When problems loom large, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, paralyzed. But progress rarely comes in giant leaps. Instead, it emerges from consistent small steps. A kind word, a deep breath, a moment of rest, a decision to try again. Each small action builds momentum. Each small act of care strengthens your resolve. And over time, these tiny acts create significant change. So don't underestimate the power of starting where you are. Right now, with what you have. One of the most profound teachings is about how we frame our experiences. Your mind has the remarkable ability to shape your reality through the stories it tells. Two people can experience the same event and walk away with very different feelings and lessons. This is not about pretending everything is good or denying pain. It's about choosing the meaning you give to events. Choosing to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Choosing to see setbacks as lessons, not failures. Choosing to see hardship as a passage to greater strength. This shift in perspective is a subtle but powerful tool. It changes your relationship with life. It frees you from victimhood. It restores your sense of agency. And it invites hope. As you practice this, you'll notice a change in how you experience time. Life's pace will seem less frantic. You'll find moments of calm amid the busyness. You'll feel more connected to the present, this precious, fleeting moment. Because ultimately, the present is all we truly have. The past is memory, the future imagination. The present is where life unfolds. And when you bring your attention fully here, you access the fullness of your power. Here you can choose your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. Here you can find peace, no matter what surrounds you. This presence also nurtures gratitude, as mentioned before. Seeing clearly what is good and true right now, no matter how small, anchors you in reality. And that reality is richer and more beautiful than the stories of lack or fear. Another rich reflection is the role of humility. Humility is not weakness, it's strength. It's the courage to acknowledge what you don't know, the openness to learn and change, the ability to see yourself as part of a larger whole. Humility softens the ego's harsh demands. It reduces the need to prove or defend. create space for connection and growth. When you cultivate humility, you open to wisdom. You become a student of life. And in this student role, every problem is a lesson, every difficulty a teacher. Finally, consider the power of intention. What you choose to bring your attention to day after day shapes your experience. If you choose to focus on fear, scarcity, or resentment, those states grow. If you choose to focus on courage, abundance, and kindness, those grow. This is not simplistic positivity. It's the deep understanding that your mind is fertile ground. You are the gardener, and your intentions are the seeds. Choose them wisely, plant them with care, nurture them patiently. Watch how your inner landscape transforms. Problems will still come. That's part of life. But your relationship to them changes profoundly, from one of resistance and suffering to one of engagement and growth. With these reflections, you are invited to walk forward with calm and clarity, to meet life's challenges with steady heart and open mind, to live fully even amid uncertainty, to find peace even amid chaos, and to know deeply that you have within you the resources to navigate any storm. It's remarkable how often we confuse movement with progress. We fill our days with activity, rushing from one task to another, busying ourselves to avoid facing what's really on our minds. But motion alone doesn't bring resolution. True progress is quiet. It's thoughtful. It's grounded in awareness. It's the deliberate step taken with intention, rather than the frantic sprint driven by anxiety. Imagine a calm river. Its surface may ripple gently, but beneath, the current flows steadily and powerfully toward its destination. Our lives can be like that river when we cultivate inner stillness amid outer motion. In moments of challenge, that stillness becomes a refuge. It's where clarity grows, where insight settles, where our responses can arise not from panic or impulse, but from a deep well of wisdom. This stillness is not something to force or demand. It's something to welcome, to allow, to return to again and again. Another truth we often overlook is the role of patience. We live in a culture that prizes speed and instant results, yet most meaningful changes unfold slowly. Patience is a quiet strength that nurtures resilience. It helps us bear discomfort without losing our center. When we cultivate patience, we create space for transformation to happen naturally. We avoid the trap of frustration that drains our energy and clouds our judgment. Patience invites trust. Trust in the process, trust in time, trust in ourselves. Trust that even when answers are not immediate, they will come when the moment is right. This trust doesn't mean passivity or giving up. Rather, it means a wise balance between effort and surrender, knowing when to act and when to wait, when to push forward and when to hold steady. This balance is subtle, and it's learned through experience and reflection. It deepens our understanding of life's rhythms, and it frees us from unnecessary struggle. Alongside patience, there's great power in embracing simplicity. When problems feel overwhelming, it often helps to strip away complexity, to return to what is essential, to see the core of the issue without distraction. In the noise of daily life, simplicity is a kind of clarity. It helps us focus on what truly matters, on what we can influence, on what aligns with our values. Simplicity is not about denial or avoidance. It's about wisdom in choosing what to hold close and what to let go. By embracing simplicity, we reduce the chaos in our minds. We create space for peace, and that peace becomes a foundation for thoughtful action. There's also a quiet grace in recognizing impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Our feelings, our circumstances, even the problems themselves. This truth, once deeply felt, becomes a source of comfort. It reminds us that no difficulty is eternal. No pain is permanent. No setback lasts forever. Knowing this helps us hold our challenges lightly, without clinging or despair. It encourages us to move with life's flow rather than against it. This acceptance of impermanence is not resignation. It's a profound engagement with reality as it is. A willingness to meet each moment fully, even the hard ones. It's in this meeting that healing begins. Another reflection worth holding close is the importance of boundaries. Sometimes the problems we face are not just external, but come from how we relate to others and to ourselves. Setting clear boundaries is an act of self-respect and care. It helps us protect our energy, prevents burnout and resentment. Boundaries create safe space, within which we can think clearly and act with integrity. They are not walls to isolate us, but gates that manage what we let in. When we cultivate healthy boundaries, we learn to say no without guilt. We learn to prioritize what nourishes us. And in doing so, we become more available, more present for what truly matters. At times, solving a problem means stepping back rather than pushing forward. It means recognizing when to pause and recharge, when to seek help instead of going it alone. This brings us to the humility of asking for support. Many of us struggle with the idea of vulnerability. We fear that asking for help reveals weakness. But true strength lies in recognizing our limits and reaching out. Support can come in many forms: a trusted friend, a mentor, a community. When we share our burdens, they become lighter. When we open our hearts, connections deepen. And in those connections, we find new perspectives and fresh energy. No one walks this path alone. This truth is both comforting and empowering. Turning now to the role of forgiveness, not just as a release but as an active practice. It's natural to carry wounds from the past, from hurts others have caused or from mistakes we ourselves have made. These wounds can cloud our present and weigh down our future. Forgiveness is the courageous choice to free ourselves from that weight. It's a gift we give not just to others but to ourselves. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It transforms how the past influences us. It opens space for healing and peace, and it's a process that takes time and compassion. When we practice forgiveness, we step out of the cycle of pain and retaliation. We reclaim our power to live fully. Another layer to explore is the idea of acceptance. This is not passive resignation, but an active acknowledgement of what is. Acceptance allows us to stop wasting energy fighting what cannot be changed. It frees us to focus on what we can influence. It invites peace by aligning our mind with reality rather than against it. Acceptance can be challenging, especially when faced with injustice or loss, but it's the ground from which resilience grows. When you accept a situation, you stop struggling against it and begin to work with it. This shift changes everything. It opens the door to creativity, to adaptation, to hope, and it helps you conserve your energy for what truly matters. There's also great wisdom in cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from what's missing to what's present. Even in hardship, there are moments, people, things to be grateful for. When you regularly practice gratitude, your mind retrains itself. It begins to notice goodness naturally. It softens the sharp edges of difficulty. Gratitude nurtures joy even in small doses, and joy is a powerful healer. It reminds us that life, in all its complexity, holds beauty and meaning. As we reflect further, consider the importance of perspective. Often, the way we see a problem shapes how big or small it feels. Stepping back and seeing the bigger picture can diminish fear and overwhelm. It helps you recognize that this moment is one thread in a vast tapestry. This moment will pass, and life will continue. With this perspective, you can face problems without being swallowed by them. You gain freedom to choose your response. This perspective brings calm and strength. It opens space for hope and action. Finally, I want to share a quiet truth about growth. Growth often happens in discomfort, in the tension between what is and what could be, in the courage to face the unknown, in the willingness to keep trying, even when results are not immediate. This discomfort is not punishment. It's the sign of life moving forward. Embrace it gently. Learn from it patiently. Trust in your capacity to grow beyond it. With each step, no matter how small, you become more resilient, more wise, more yourself. Take a moment now to breathe deeply, allowing these reflections to settle gently in your mind. Know that you are equipped to navigate life's challenges. Not by rushing to fix everything at once, but by living each moment with presence, patience, and grace. By planting seeds of wisdom, kindness, and courage, and nurturing them with steady, calm attention. The path is yours to walk, and every step, no matter how quiet, is progress. In the quiet spaces between our thoughts, there is an opportunity, a subtle invitation, to discover a deeper layer of freedom. It's not a freedom born from changing external circumstances, but one that arises from how we relate to them. This freedom is rooted in the understanding that while we may not control what happens to us, we can always choose how we experience and respond to it. When a problem arises, the instinct may be to resist, to fight, or to become anxious. Yet, resistance often amplifies suffering. Like a wave crashing against a rock, the harder we push, the more we hurt ourselves. Instead, imagine learning to move with the wave, to bend without breaking, to soften without surrendering your integrity. This is not about passivity or giving up. It is about embracing flexibility within strength. Think of the bamboo that bends in the storm but does not snap. This flexibility is a form of wisdom. It requires trust in yourself and the natural flow of life. Sometimes, life's difficulties feel like a maze with no exit. The mind races, searching for solutions, getting lost in doubt. But what if, instead of trying to find a way out immediately, you simply stop and breathe? You observe your thoughts without judgment, like a curious bystander. In this pause, clarity often emerges. The exit may become visible, or you may find that the maze itself shifts as you change your approach. Pausing does not mean ignoring the problem. It means allowing space for the problem to reveal itself fully, so your response can be thoughtful rather than reactive. This space is the cradle of true insight. When dealing with others, challenges often arise from expectations unmet or misunderstandings. Here, the practice of empathy becomes vital. Empathy asks you to see beyond your own perspective, to understand the experience of the other person without immediately reacting or judging. This doesn't mean you accept harm or tolerate disrespect. Rather, empathy allows you to respond with wisdom and compassion, which can transform conflicts into opportunities for connection and growth. In practicing empathy, you strengthen your capacity for patience and open communication. Reflect also on the power of small actions repeated over time. When problems seem vast, it's tempting to look for quick fixes. But real change often comes from consistent, humble effort. Like a river carving a canyon through rock, persistence shapes the landscape of our lives slowly but surely. This steady approach requires faith in the power of tiny steps and in your own resilience. Celebrate these small victories, for they are the building blocks of lasting peace. In moments when you feel overwhelmed, it can help to return to your senses. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice the rhythm of your breath. Listen to the sounds around you. This simple grounding practice draws your attention away from the whirlwind of thoughts and back to the present moment. The present moment is where life actually unfolds. It's the place where your power truly lies. When you anchor yourself here, problems lose some of their grip because they no longer exist as abstract fears or imagined catastrophes, but as manageable realities. Consider, too, the gentle art of reframing. Sometimes what appears as a problem can be seen as a teacher. It challenges you to grow, to adapt, to deepen your understanding. By shifting your perspective, you transform struggle into learning, pain into opportunity. This reframing is a choice, a lens you place on your experience. It doesn't change what happens, but it changes how you meet it. Remember also the importance of kindness toward others and toward yourself. Problems often feel heavier when we add harsh self-criticism to them. Instead, approach yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend. Speak kindly to yourself. Acknowledge your efforts. Forgive your mistakes. This self-kindness creates a foundation of inner safety from which you can face difficulties more courageously. Let us reflect on how meaning can be found even in hardship. Life's challenges are not just obstacles but parts of the human journey that shape who we become. Sometimes, through enduring and overcoming difficulty, we discover hidden strengths, unexpected clarity, and a deeper connection to what matters. This meaning is not always obvious at first. It reveals itself over time through reflection and experience. Holding onto this possibility can bring hope and perseverance. Now, think about how control and acceptance dance together in life's unfolding. We cannot control everything, but we can control our attention, our effort, and our attitude. Letting go of what is beyond control frees us from needless suffering. At the same time, focusing on what we can influence empowers us to act wisely. This balance between acceptance and agency is delicate but vital. It invites a calm, centered approach to problem-solving, neither overwhelmed by circumstance nor stubbornly resistant to reality. There is also wisdom in cultivating curiosity. When faced with difficulty, rather than shutting down or reacting defensively, approach the situation as an opportunity to learn. Ask yourself quietly, what can this teach me? How can I grow from this? Curiosity softens fear and opens pathways to solutions. It transforms problems from threats into puzzles to be solved with patience and insight. In the rhythm of life, rest is as important as effort. Problems can exhaust us, and sometimes the wisest thing is to step back and replenish our energy. Rest is not a luxury but a necessity. It renews our capacity to face challenges with clarity and strength. Incorporating moments of stillness and relaxation creates a wellspring of calm from which wise choices emerge. As you listen to these reflections, notice how each invites you to slow down, to observe, and to respond with intention. Life's problems may never disappear completely, but your relationship with them can transform profoundly. When you approach difficulties with calm, patience, empathy, kindness, and curiosity, you open a space where solutions can arise naturally. You develop resilience that doesn't rely on external circumstances but is anchored deeply within. This resilience is the quiet power that carries you through storms and guides you into calmer waters. Let these words be a companion on your journey, a gentle reminder that no matter what life presents, you have the inner resources to meet it. The path is not always easy, but it is yours to walk with courage and grace. Take a breath now. Feel the truth of these words settle within you. Know that the calm, steady river of your inner strength flows beneath every challenge. And in that flow, you will find your way. As we continue, imagine yourself sitting by a quiet lake. The surface is smooth, reflecting the sky without disturbance. Life, in its essence, invites us to become like this lake, calm, steady, and clear, even when the winds of trouble blow. When difficulties arise, it's easy to feel as though the surface has been shattered, leaving ripples and waves. But beneath those ripples lies a stillness that never leaves us. It is always present, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be embraced. This stillness is a sanctuary for your mind and heart. When you return to it, even briefly, you regain perspective. You see the problem not as an overwhelming storm, but as a passing disturbance, one you have the capacity to navigate. Pause here and picture this calm within yourself. The next time your thoughts spiral, remember the lake. Let your mind settle. Let your breath slow. In doing so, you reclaim your power. In everyday life, challenges often come disguised as frustration or fear. You might face a difficult conversation, a sudden change in plans, or a personal setback. Each scenario tests your ability to remain grounded. When you feel the tug of frustration, ask yourself, what am I truly upset about? Often, beneath the surface emotion lies a simpler truth, a fear of loss, a desire for control, or a misunderstanding of what is possible. By gently uncovering this truth, you diffuse the intensity of your reaction. You begin to see that your upset is not caused by the event itself, but by your interpretation of it. This distinction is vital. It means that by shifting how you see the situation, you can shift your emotional response. Try this next time a problem arises. Observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing in the sky. You are the sky, vast and unchanged. The clouds, your worries and fears, come and go. This image can help you create space between you and your thoughts, freeing you from being swept away by them. Life also reminds us of the importance of focusing on what is truly within our control. There is a profound freedom in recognizing the boundary between what you can influence and what you cannot. Energy spent trying to change the uncontrollable is energy lost. Instead, direct your effort to what you can affect: your actions, your attitudes, your responses. For instance, you cannot control the behavior of others, but you can control your reaction to it. You cannot always change your circumstances, but you can change your approach to them. This understanding doesn't diminish the difficulty of problems, but offers a clearer path forward. In practical terms, this might look like accepting that someone will act in a way you don't like, but choosing not to let it disturb your peace. It means accepting setbacks at work or in relationships as part of the journey, while continuing to act with integrity and kindness. Acceptance here is not resignation. It is a calm acknowledgement of reality, freeing you from needless frustration. When you practice this acceptance, your mind becomes less cluttered with resistance and more open to solutions. There is also the concept of time, which often intensifies our problems. We feel pressured to resolve issues immediately or worry endlessly about what might come next. Yet, time itself is a resource, a patient ally. When you allow yourself to step back and see a problem over days, weeks, or months, its shape often changes. What seemed urgent becomes manageable. What seemed daunting becomes clearer. Patience is not passive waiting but active endurance, a wise trust in the unfolding of events. In this, remind yourself, your current challenge is one chapter in a much longer story. It will pass, transform, or teach you something important. Another powerful tool is the practice of gratitude. This might feel counterintuitive when problems press hard, but gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. It opens the heart to the small blessings, a kind word, a breath of fresh air, the beating of your own heart. These simple realities remind you that life is never only hardship. It is a blend of light and shadow. By cultivating gratitude, you build emotional resilience. You strengthen your ability to stand firm when troubles arise. Consider also the way problems shape your character. In the face of adversity, you practice patience, courage, humility, and wisdom. These virtues are not abstract ideals but lived qualities, habits you develop through experience. Every time you meet difficulty with calm and resolve, you deepen these qualities. You become someone who can weather storms with grace. And this is the true victory over problems. Not eliminating them, but transforming your relationship to them. Look closely at how you speak to yourself during difficult times. Is your inner dialogue harsh, judgmental, or fearful? If so, gently shift it to one of encouragement and understanding. Imagine a wise friend standing beside you, offering quiet reassurance. What would they say? How would they hold your hand through the dark moments? Speak to yourself with this same kindness. The mind responds to gentle encouragement, not harsh criticism. Allowing yourself this compassion opens pathways to healing and clarity. There is also the deep wisdom of focusing on purpose. Problems often feel overwhelming because we lose sight of why we do what we do. When you reconnect with your deeper purpose, whether it is to love, to grow, to serve, problems take on a new meaning. They become part of the journey toward that purpose, not detours or dead ends. This perspective invites a steady resolve. You keep moving forward, step by step, even when the way is unclear. In this forward movement, trust in your own inner compass. You don't need to have all the answers right now. The path reveals itself as you walk it. Sometimes, you may feel the need to simplify your life, to remove distractions or unnecessary burdens. This simplification can create space for peace. When life becomes too cluttered, your mind becomes restless. Clearing away what is not essential allows your true priorities to shine. Reflect on what truly matters to you. What can you release that weighs you down? What small changes might bring you greater ease? Even tiny adjustments can have a ripple effect, easing your experience of life's difficulties. Remember, too, the importance of community. While Stoicism often emphasizes inner strength, it does not suggest isolation. Humans are social beings, and connection can be a source of great comfort and support. When you face problems, reaching out to trusted friends or mentors can provide perspective and encouragement. You are not alone in your struggles, and sometimes sharing your burden lightens it. Listening to others and offering your own support builds bonds of mutual strength. It is in these connections that the human spirit finds renewed energy to face challenges. Finally, embrace the mystery of life's unfolding. Not all questions have answers, and not all problems can be neatly solved. There is wisdom in accepting uncertainty, in living with open hands rather than clenched fists. When you accept what is unknown, you free yourself from the anxiety of trying to control everything. You open space for surprise, for growth, and for unexpected joy. This surrender is not defeat but a profound trust in life's larger rhythm. It is a quiet knowing that no matter what happens, you have the inner resources to meet it. Breathe deeply. Let these ideas settle. Feel the calm deepen. You are capable. You are steady. You are enough. There is something deeply liberating about not needing to have everything figured out. We are so often taught that we must always know, always plan, always solve. Yet some of the most profound peace comes not from certainty, but from learning to live skillfully with uncertainty. You don't need all the answers to move forward. You don't need a perfect strategy to begin. What you need is presence, the willingness to meet this moment exactly as it is, without resistance. When you stop demanding that life bend to your expectations, you create space to respond with clarity. Let go of the illusion that things must go a certain way for you to be okay. That illusion is a source of endless frustration. Instead, ground yourself in the quiet strength of adaptability. You don't break when life changes, you adjust. You shift. You stay soft where others grow rigid. That is real strength. Often, we wait for the world to become easier before we choose peace. We think, once this problem is gone, then I'll relax. But this is a trap, because when one problem leaves, another tends to arrive. So rather than waiting for the world to settle down, settle yourself. Train your nervous system to remain steady in the middle of the noise. This doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means meeting them with a composed spirit. Let your actions be deliberate, not rushed. Let your speech be measured, not reactive. Let your mind be a still pool, not a storm. Each day, life offers you chances to practice this. A delay in traffic, a disagreement, an unexpected bill. These are not just inconveniences, they are invitations. Invitations to respond with awareness instead of reflex, to pause before reacting, to ask yourself, what is the most honorable way to meet this? In this way, your daily life becomes your training ground. And with time, your mind becomes stronger, not through brute force, but through constant gentle alignment with your values. When you live from your center, the world cannot pull you apart. This center is built on integrity, on choosing what is right over what is easy, on being honest even when it's uncomfortable, on treating others with respect, not because they earn it, but because you've chosen it as your standard. Each time you honor your own values, you fortify your inner foundation. And when life shakes, you don't crumble. You stand anchored in what you know matters. Now, consider the role of desire in your suffering. So much pain comes not from life itself, but from our grasping, wanting things to be other than they are. We want people to behave differently. We want circumstances to change instantly. We want outcomes we cannot force. Desire is natural, but unexamined desire becomes torment. So begin to notice your cravings. Observe how they rise in your body, how they cloud your thinking, how they push you out of the present. And gently, without shame, loosen your grip. You can still have dreams. You can still pursue goals, but do it from a place of wholeness, not desperation. From a quiet sense of direction, not frantic need. Let life surprise you. Let it unfold in ways you didn't predict. Sometimes the solution you're clinging to is not the one you need. Sometimes the path you didn't plan leads to a greater peace than the one you pursued. The more you trust the process, the less you suffer when it diverges from your expectations. There is wisdom, too, in embracing discomfort, not as punishment but as a teacher. Discomfort sharpens the mind. It shows you where you're still holding on. It exposes illusions and makes space for clarity. Next time you feel discomfort rising, anxiety, sadness, frustration, don't rush to numb it. Don't distract yourself immediately. Instead, get curious. What is this sensation trying to show you? What truth is beneath it? Sometimes the discomfort is asking you to grow. Sometimes it's asking you to let go. And sometimes it's simply asking to be felt without judgment, without fixing. There is healing in simply sitting with yourself, even when it's hard. Silence, too, is a balm. We are surrounded by noise, external and internal. Opinions, deadlines, thoughts, worries. But beneath the noise is silence, always waiting. You don't have to chase it. Just pause, breathe, listen. That silence reconnects you to what is real. It reminds you that beneath the thoughts and emotions, there is something still, something unbreakable. Let this silence become your companion. Let it walk with you through each day. With time, it becomes a refuge, a place where no problem can reach you. Not because the problem disappears, but because you no longer give it power over your peace. This brings us to one of the most powerful shifts you can make. Seeing problems as practice, not punishment, practice. Each difficulty becomes a chance to reinforce your values, a chance to respond with love instead of fear, a chance to stay calm when panic would be easier. This doesn't mean you enjoy the struggle. It means you no longer resent it. You accept that it has a place in your development, even if you don't understand why right away. Life is not trying to break you. It's trying to build you, to shape your spirit into something vast and resilient. And the more you cooperate with this process, the lighter you feel. The more you surrender to growth, the less you resist what's happening. Not passive surrender, not giving up, but conscious surrender, acknowledging what you cannot control and focusing fully on what you can. And what you can always control is your presence. No matter how chaotic the outside world becomes, your presence, your ability to be here, to breathe, to choose your response is always available. This is your power. And perhaps this is the ultimate teaching. Peace does not mean a life free of problems. It means living in such a way that problems no longer own you. They may knock on your door, but they don't enter your heart without your permission. They may test you, but they don't define you. You define you by how you carry yourself in the storm, by the calm in your eyes when things fall apart, by the softness in your voice when others shout. This is the quiet, unshakable strength of one who has seen through illusion, who has learned that the answer is never in fighting life, but in aligning with it, in choosing wisdom over worry, grace over control, depth over noise. So keep walking your path, gently but surely. Keep listening inward. Keep trusting that the same life that challenges you is also shaping you into someone capable of more peace, more love, more freedom. And in that unfolding, you'll find that the problems you feared most were never enemies. They were gateways. Gateways to becoming who you truly are. Let these reflections breathe inside you. Let the words dissolve into your experience. Let them soften whatever tension you've carried. You are not the weight you hold. You are the space that can carry it with grace. And you are doing just fine. There is something powerful that happens when we no longer run from life as it is. Not life as we wish it to be, or as it used to be, or as it might be someday, but life exactly as it shows up. So much of our tension comes not from the events themselves, but from our resistance to them. A delay frustrates us because we thought it shouldn't happen. A person disappoints us because we imagined they would behave differently. A plan falls apart, and we suffer more from our attachment than from the change itself. But when you stop arguing with reality, something inside you loosens. You begin to see clearly without distortion. You stop spending your energy on what should be and focus instead on what is, and what you can do about it. This is where clarity lives. And with clarity, the small problems shrink, the large ones become manageable, and the anxiety that once gripped you loses its hold. Imagine how light you would feel if you stopped taking things personally. Not because you don't care, but because you understand that most people are acting from their own wounds, their own fears, their own stories. When someone criticizes you unfairly, it's often not about you. When someone withdraws, lashes out, or makes assumptions, they're usually reacting to their own inner world. The wise person doesn't internalize everything. They observe, they feel, they reflect, but they don't make every wave a storm. Let others be who they are. Let events unfold as they must. Your responsibility is not to control everything. It's to respond in a way that aligns with your inner peace. Some days, that response is silent patience. Other days, it's calm honesty. Sometimes, it's simply walking away. And all of that is okay. Your peace does not require perfection. It asks only for presence, a willingness to stay with yourself no matter what happens. This presence is your compass. It tells you when you're abandoning yourself to please others. It alerts you when your thoughts are racing toward fear. It guides you back when you drift too far into worry. Come back to this moment again and again, not to escape the future, but to meet it with steadiness. You don't need to brace yourself for every possible outcome. You just need to show up fully for this step, this breath, this choice. Trust that you'll handle the next moment when it arrives. When life feels overwhelming, zoom in. Narrow your attention to the smallest action you can take with care. Sometimes that means cleaning your space. Sometimes it's drinking water. Sometimes it's turning off your phone and resting. These simple acts may not solve everything, but they place you back in motion, grounded, awake, capable. In contrast, overthinking steals that power. It makes you freeze when what you need is to flow. Thinking is useful until it becomes a loop. When it repeats itself endlessly, you're no longer solving, you're spinning. And spinning keeps you stuck. So learn to notice when your thoughts become noise. Step back, breathe, ask yourself, is this useful or is this just habit? Replace rumination with presence. Replace worry with a small action. Replace self-judgment with gentle awareness. You're not weak because you feel afraid. You're not broken because you don't have all the answers. You're human, you're growing, and you are allowed to take your time. In a world obsessed with speed, one of the most radical things you can do is move with intention. Slow doesn't mean stuck. It means deliberate. It means you're not being dragged by life, you're walking with it. When you slow down, you notice things. You feel your own heartbeat again. You begin to see what matters and what doesn't. And often, the things we thought were urgent turn out to be distractions. The real priorities are quieter. They don't shout. They whisper. You have to be still enough to hear them. That stillness is where real decisions are made, not from panic, but from inner knowing. And when you live this way, you start to trust yourself, not because you're always right, but because you are always aligned with what feels true. Your compass becomes internal, not external. No longer chasing approval or validation or escape, but listening inward, moving from integrity, acting from peace. There's a kind of sacred simplicity in this. You stop needing to fix everyone. You stop needing to explain yourself constantly. You stop needing everything to be okay before you can feel okay. Instead, you make peace with not knowing. You welcome mystery. You stop gripping the steering wheel so tightly and allow life to flow through you. Even pain, when met with openness, can soften. You don't need to avoid discomfort at all costs. Often, your deepest growth lies just on the other side of it. When you stop fearing pain, it loses its edge. You see it for what it is, a signal, a teacher, a visitor, not a verdict. And in this way, nothing is wasted. Not failure, not loss, not even the mistakes you wish you could erase. They all brought you here. They all shaped your perspective. They all made you more compassionate, more real, more awake. If you're breathing right now, then the story isn't over. There's still time to forgive what you haven't forgiven. There's still time to choose differently. There's still time to build a life rooted in what matters most. But don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the world to validate your choice to begin again. Sometimes the next chapter begins quietly, in a decision made in the dark, in a choice to let go of what no longer serves, in the courage to say, enough. I want peace more than I want to be right. I want freedom more than I want control. And from that moment on, things begin to shift. Not because life becomes easy, but because you become different. You stop seeing problems as signs that something is wrong. You start seeing them as part of the rhythm of life, as waves that rise and fall, not to drown you, but to teach you how to float. And eventually, you realize you've been stronger than you gave yourself credit for. Not because you fought every battle, but because you learned when to release the sword. You learned when to rest, when to trust, when to sit in the quiet and let the storm pass without needing to tame it. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. And the more you live from this space, the less life feels like something to manage, and the more it feels like something to be lived. Moment by moment, breath by breath, fully, not perfectly, just honestly. gently, presently. That is enough. That has always been enough. There's a kind of invisible suffering that many people carry. Not loud, not dramatic, but quiet, persistent. A low hum in the background of their lives. It comes from trying to live up to expectations that were never theirs to begin with. From constantly measuring themselves against someone else's timeline. From pretending to be okay when they're not. But the most healing decision you can make is to stop performing. Stop playing a role. Stop striving to be what the world says you should be, and just be who you are without apology. It's not laziness to drop the mask. It's courage. Because the truth is, pretending is exhausting. It's a full-time job with no days off. And for what? Approval? Validation? To avoid judgment? All of that is fleeting. But your peace? That's something you can carry everywhere, once you claim it. And the first step to claiming it is honesty with yourself. How often do you say, "I'm fine," when you're not? How often do you say yes just to avoid conflict, knowing it will cost you your energy? How often do you minimize your own needs, just to keep the peace? What if you stop doing that? What if you believe that your needs are not a burden, that your voice matters, that your life isn't supposed to be lived in a constant state of tension? It's not selfish to honor your limits. It's not rude to need rest. It's not weak to say, "This is too much." It's human. You were never meant to carry everything alone. You were never meant to suppress everything to keep others comfortable. That's not peace. That's quiet misery. And Stoicism isn't about numbing yourself or becoming a robot. It's about deep presence, inner alignment, and emotional responsibility, not emotional repression. Letting yourself feel doesn't mean you have to be ruled by emotions. It means you allow the wave to rise and fall without pretending it doesn't exist. Emotions are just signals. Like weather systems, they pass. But they often bring messages if you're willing to listen. Sometimes sadness says, "You've been holding too much for too long." Sometimes anger says, "Your boundaries have been crossed." Sometimes anxiety says, "You're living in the future, not in this moment." When you listen without panic, without the need to push it away, these emotions often soften on their own. You don't have to analyze them to death. Just sit with them like you would with a tired friend. You are allowed to be tender. You are allowed to be still. You don't have to be productive to have worth. You don't have to be constantly improving to be good enough. You don't have to chase anything to be whole. Because the more you chase, the more you forget what's already here. And what's already here is enough. A breath, a body, a moment, a chance. You don't need a grand transformation. You just need to remember what matters. And it's usually the simplest things. The warmth of the sun on your face. The way your shoulders drop when you finally exhale. A conversation where you felt truly heard. A moment of stillness that reminds you you're alive. You don't have to do anything spectacular to live a meaningful life. Sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do is pause. Look around. Be where your feet are. So many problems dissolve when we stop trying to be everywhere at once. When you are fully here, you stop borrowing suffering from the future. You stop dragging regret from the past. You step into your power, which only ever exists in the now. And that power doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. Not giving up, not being passive, but recognizing what is yours to carry and what isn't. You're not responsible for how others receive your truth. You're not responsible for fixing every broken thing. You're not responsible for carrying pain that isn't yours. You are responsible for your inner world, for your choices, for the way you speak to yourself when no one is listening. You get to decide, do I meet this moment with fear or with faith? With resistance or with grace? With panic or with presence? No one else can decide that for you. And yes, you'll stumble. You'll forget. You'll react. You'll get caught in old habits. That's okay. That's part of the process. The important thing is that you return. Again and again. Not perfectly, just consistently. Back to your breath. Back to this moment. Back to what you can control. Even now, you can choose peace. You can choose to let go. You can choose to stop feeding the thought that keeps you stuck. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You are the stillness that notices the storm, but isn't consumed by it. And that stillness is always available, even in chaos, especially in chaos. It's the space between reaction and response. The quiet clarity that says, I don't have to rush. I don't have to panic. I can handle this step by step. When you live from that space, life doesn't necessarily become easier, but it becomes lighter. You stop adding weight to the inevitable challenges. You start meeting the world as it is, not as you wish it to be, and paradoxically, that makes you more capable of creating real change. Because when you're not overwhelmed by everything, you can focus on what truly matters. And what truly matters is rarely urgent. It's usually subtle, found in the way you listen, the way you love, the way you care for your body, the way you choose kindness when it's inconvenient. You don't need more noise. You need depth. You need presence. You need to come home to yourself. And every time you do, you reclaim your life one breath at a time. So breathe. Just breathe. You're doing more than enough. And you are not alone.